incredible pipeline of women ready. But actually what happens is once they have the slate, then there's a lot of these off-the-record conversations that happen around the boardroom table. Do you know that person? Do you know that person? It's fairly immature, and it comes back to that kind of personal network and recommendation. And then again you go, well, here's a problem, because from a myth perspective and a reality perspective, a lot of those conversations that are being held by men, they are traditionally leveraging their network. In Australia, we have a real cultural debate around women in the workforce. And whilst we've achieved significant percentages on the boards, we definitely have an issue around executive. Now, we were talking earlier about pipeline, and that the woman expectation is, you need to be able to be an expert in all of these arenas. I think where the conversation needs to go to is that whilst there are those traditional finance background or the legal background, in this day and age, what we're looking for is leaders who have had a diversity of experiences. I mean, many boards today are going through digital transformation. So what expertise is there? We've talked about the human capital of organisations. We need leaders who are experts in people and driving people capital. We need experts who know how to handle crises. And this is not necessarily a traditional role in an executive. They can actually be across a variety of portfolios. So I think the way that I like to approach this question in terms of why not, I definitely discount the pipeline. In Australia, the governance body for corporate directors, the AICD, is championed around the world for leading and chairing an initiative called the Chair's Mentor Program. There's been over 350 women who've gone through the program, mentored by 150 of the top ASX listed chairs. And what this has done, when I speak to women who've gone through the program, there was a lot of conversations earlier about confidence. They said this gave us validation, that we were ready. But importantly in the market, it gave validation that they were ready.
Is this a certification program?
Yeah, it's the Institute of Company Directors. You apply.
Yeah.
Just this year alone, 50 women, over 500 applicants. It's very, very tough to get through. It's a 12-month program. You're mentored by these listed chairs, as I mentioned, 150. And at the end of that, based on a series of expectations and achievements, you're then effectively credentialed as board ready. And this has been the game changer for this discussion around pipeline. Like, where are the women? Well, you go to the AICD website and here are all of the graduates. So that's just another thought in terms of how you can try and start to adjust the conversation.
I have to tell you, I was on the advisory board for the National Association of Corporate Directors, and we have a certification program. So does Harvard, so does Stanford, so does every other business school. Certification is not a guarantee that you will be placed on a board. The important part of this is the mentoring part, but there's something else that Australia does well that we'll bring up later. Mexico. The thing about Mexico is a lot of family-owned companies, okay? So for those of you, we have them all over Latin America. They're in the Philippines. In Korea, it means that one family founded the company and still holds major shares.
Yes, that's definitely the case. Many family-owned companies. And so you often see that these large, very large companies, they will maybe have 20 board members seats, and only really 3 or 4 will be active. The others are just shareholders that have an important role in the company as shareholders, but they're not active, they don't propose anything. And I've been talking to several of these companies recently, and they also don't have women, or they might have one, the sister or the daughter of. So we do have that problem, and they do not want the government to interfere. So we have had initiatives to push certain requisites in the law, and they haven't progressed. They're stuck in Congress. And it has to do because families say, that's none of your business. You shouldn't really have any say on how I run or what I do in my company. So yes, that's one problem. I did mention the Toby problem as well. These organizations, business organizations run and created by men. But also Mexico is a traditionally, a traditional society that for many, many, many years relied on women staying at home. And that has changed radically in recent years, and I'm proud to see that there are many young women out there changing this narrative in the country. But it is a traditional society, and we, hold on, but women are pushing this situation. And I'm going to tell you a few initiatives that are important in Mexico and that are making a change. We have the IPADE Business School Center for Research on Women in Senior Management. They presented the network of counselors and experts in Mexico. So this is a database of board-ready women that are either sitting on boards or have already a professional trajectory that makes them ready to sit on a board.
But who accesses that database?
Well, the idea...
How is it connected to, the companies?
Well, this is the thing, that many companies used to say, well, we really do want women, but there's no talent out there, and they're not qualified.
So what is active component?
Well, this database is the response to saying, you can no longer say that narrative, because there are a lot of women in this database. And if you just access and you say, oh, I need someone that's an expert in digital, you will find that person. You need a lawyer, you will find that person, a financial person. So it will kill that narrative because it is available to all the companies and to everywhere. They need to access it. We need to promote it. We need to campaign, push forward. But it's an initiative. Another one is the 30% club that we also have. The other one is the women on boards 50-50. They have been campaigning for 5 years to push greater inclusion. And it has had an impact in terms of the public narrative with some advances in actual presentation. And, but most importantly, I think also what you mentioned this morning, headhunters and nominating committees need to ask for a slate that have women, period. It needs to be required. And we need to change the mindset and create new opportunities that will give women experience in the field and broaden what are considered the requirements for participation. It used to be that if you had a strong financial background, then that's what they would be looking for. But I think nowadays we all know that the boards have changed, the world has changed, and as you were mentioning, we need other skills. We need other expertise, people expertise. Certainly ESG is on the table. And also, I think a generational expertise. We can no longer say, we will take only experienced women that have had experience on boards. No, we need all kinds of experience because the world is facing challenges that we all need to solve together, and the younger generations certainly bring into the table different skills that we don't have. And
you can't imagine how many male board directors don't even know social media. But
exactly.
Nobody faults them for that.
Exactly.
The lack of tech skills among male directors is legendary. On the board that I was on, we had an opening because somebody died, and he was sitting right next to me. Now that's sort of extreme, but there was no opening. In the study that we did in the National Association of Corporate Directors, the average tenure of a male director is 10 years plus. It's too long. And so one of the recommendations we made, there should be a deadline. There ought to be an age deadline or a tenure deadline, but 10 years you become part of management, you're no longer an independent director. So, Kunro and Badi, yes? any idea for why there is this imbalance between the tremendous business talent that women have here in Thailand and the lack of their representation on boards until recently?
I think that is a demand and supply, I think. For the demand right now, I think that most of companies realize the fact that having the board diversity or board gender diversity is a great thing, contribute to the higher performance. I think many study, as Kun Irene pointed out, or other literature mentioned that having more diversity on the board, compared to the other company that do not have, the performance is greater. But the supply side is a matter of fact, like you
have lots
mentioned.
of supply.
Yeah, but I mean, where to get that? How? I don't know. As you mentioned, the access to data is important right now. I think that we need to make a blockchain in this, since after the school or after the training course, so on and so forth. But as I said, we want to have more talented pool of eligible ladies, right now we work together with all parties, especially for the IOD, the Institute for Independent Director, SEC funding to that institute to provide the capacity building for all the young female who want to come into this space, If I may, just a minute or so. Myself, before I joined the SEC, I used to be an independent director. Apparently, I was the first lady in that company, that is in energy companies, Before that, And then sometimes a female have some reluctance to be alone, Irene. It's a matter of, I'm not so sure, they may fear something or reluctant not to have colleagues, female colleagues like that. I think like that, but I think things improve already right now. By now, I think that my colleagues make a survey lately. They said that there are two parts. One is limited access to director pool for recruitment. They don't know where to get the data from. If they want to have, they don't have single or one-stop, database for listed company to get into. Second is about insufficient or potential women director in the pipeline. I think that currently there are two main limitations, but it's not difficult to solve at all. Especially for the database, Kun Irene. I don't know, but perhaps Kun Irene can give some suggestion in America. How can we just one push and then we see all numbers, and then all the qualification and so on and so forth. This is the current situation in Thailand, but I'm sure that we do much better in the near term, with the help of everyone. Thank you.
In the States, thank you, Kunrowan Badi. In the United States, we had lots of databases of women who were board ready, lots of organizations. We've been doing this for years, but it's like there's this universe of board ready women, and then there's this universe of companies, and they didn't meet. And that's how come the database is not enough.